Hello and welcome to Tony's Bonsai. Today I'm going to be making some big decisions and some big chops on these 4 Kojo No Mai cherries. Really excited to get stuck into these, but first of all, I just want to discuss bonsai design for deciduous material. When I started my bonsai journey properly 2.5 years ago, I only knew a few bits and bobs that I picked up off YouTube, and I'm no master, but I feel like I've made a few leaps forward in terms of how to approach bonsai trees, particularly nursery stock collected material, so that I can take them to where I eventually want them to go. When I'm working on these Kojo No Mais, I'm now beginning to think you're looking at minimum 10 years to get them to where I want. And so let's look at them one by one, make some decisions and make some chops and move them forward. Just before we start, after I've worked on these trees, they're all going in the ground. I want them to develop these trunks that are currently, 15 mil, 12 mil, 15 mil wide. I want them to be 30, 40 mil. So they need to go in the ground for a good sort of 3 or 4 years, put some serious size on. But before I put them in the ground, I want to sort out and solve any problems and kind of set them up to be interesting trees. I'm going to have a good look at them and then make some big cuts. And it'll be interesting for you to follow along and see what you would do. I mean, first thing, I've no need for these lower branches. I don't see them in my design, so they can all go. And really what I'm doing is I'm looking at the basic structure of the tree, i.e. the trunk line. I'm not trying to make this into a bonsai now. I'm doing the opposite of instant bonsai basically. So as we look at the tree, this is quite a nice front. And this is also quite a nice front. And I need to decide, do I keep this? Do I keep this? Or do I remove one of them? Or do I keep both of them? And these are all options. But for me, I don't want this to be a trunk that goes up into 2 trunks. So I've made the decision already. One of them has to go. So I can remove that. This is quite interesting. Comes up. I would then have to sort this top section out somehow. Or this can all go. The only problem there is there's not too much movement going up to this. And then this section is also quite straight, really. There's a bit of movement from this direction, but generally there's not much happening, and that line there just goes straight all the way. Therefore, it's kind of made my decision for me. I think this has to go. And I could air layer it, but I want to get these on the go, and I'm going to try to root these. So I'll go in with my cutters and off she goes. So that's the big cut gone. The big cut done, should I say. Now they do heal quite well, these cherries. So that should heal fairly quickly when it goes in the ground. But I'm now left with the decisions of what to do up at the top. So let's see what I've got to work with now. As I rotate it round, these lower branches, they come from the inside of a bend here. So they're probably not going to be in the final design, but I don't need to remove them yet. Same with this branch here. I'm not certain about that yet. But this is the interesting part here. We've got the trunk dividing into 2. Got a thin one and a thick one that then divides again. I could potentially leave both of those on, or could remove one. And in this case, it does taper up quite nicely from the trunk to this. And there is some nice movement here. Therefore, this one at the back is only going to cause swelling in this area, which I want to avoid because I don't want inverse taper on the trunk. Therefore, my decision is to remove this one. There. I'm just going to go in with my cutters and cut it right back to get a nice, I want this to heal up nice and cleanly. Oh. Damn. I don't often do that, but I got that wrong. But to be honest, I think that one was going to go anyway. I know you're thinking, well, you would say that, but genuinely, I was seriously probably going to remove that one because, again, it could cause inverse taper, which is something I don't want. And there we go. I think that looks a lot better now. The lines are nice and clean. It looks great. And imagine digging that up in 3 or 4 years. It's going to be like collecting a really nice piece of almost Yamadori, urban Yamadori, call it whatever you want. It's going to be thick. It's going to have nice movement. It's going to have character and taper, everything that I want. This is the next tree. As you can see, there's loads of healthy growth up there and it's ready for decisions. So let's look closer. I spent quite a long time picking each of these trees out, and as I was in the shop, I had a really good look. I had many trees to choose from, but I was looking for potential lines, interesting features that I could reduce down to become potentially good bonsais. So again, we've got a really nice bit of movement at the base here. So we're coming up and across and sweeping around, which I really like. This seems really interesting. There's a natural sort of swiggle there, but this is very straight. Therefore, I just don't see how that could feature in the final design. And just like last time, it can go. You didn't need to be a bonsai master to work out that that branch had to go. My next decision, before I move on to these lower branches, which I'm not sure about yet, we've got these two that are both competing, the two thicker ones, this one and this one. They can't both stay because they're going to cause a lot of swelling here. And they're quite prone to inverse taper, these cherries. So this is again another easy decision for me to come in and get rid of that. So that's really cleaned the lines up there now. Look at that. Far, far better. Far better. I need to do a bit of thinking about this one. Does that want to stay? Well, I know what definitely doesn't want to stay, this one here, because we've already got quite a large area of kind of swelling there, which I don't want to promote. So that one goes. This one here, I don't, for some reason, I don't mind this one. It's quite low down though. You know, is it going to affect the tree going forward? I'm not sure. But it is healthy. It's alive, it's growing. There's this one back here seems to be dead anyway. So with that being a dead branch, that's a no-brainer. Let's get rid of that. I just took 5 minutes to have a look at this tree and I went round and removed a few bits of dead branches. So these are all now viable live branches that should do well this year. There's a temptation to start going in and making lots of decisions to, you know, oh, this could be this branch, this could be this branch, and there's no good. These are there now to fuel the tree and I need to just allow this to grow. I put some good basic shape into it and come back to that in, as I say, 3 or 4 years and see what it looks like. We're at the third tree now, so hopefully you're getting into the swing of it. I think this is the easiest one of all the 4. As I rotate it round, you can see from this angle here, we've got some major inverse taper coming from here up to there. It's kind of messy, clunky. There's lots going on. There's not really much movement, although it moves nicely across once it gets sort of above that inverse taper. But for me, this one here is just far more interesting. Look at that, how it sort of leans across. And so this was the only one of the three that I didn't have to do much looking at really. And that comes off right down there. And I'll just go in and just clean that up a bit. You can see here the amount that I've left on the tree. Obviously I'm not removing any of this. It'll need all this to start growing and developing, but I think there's a nice future tree there. And now for the final tree, and this one's a little less obvious. A bit like that previous one, I could just take it off into this side branch, but this one doesn't seem as interesting. It doesn't seem to have much taper to it. It's just like a kind of straight branch going up. Whereas there does seem to be some interest on the main trunk. Therefore, I think with this tree, this branch has to go complete opposite to the last tree. So there's no rule of this is what you do to prune a cherry tree. You've got to take each tree at face value and try to see a future for it really. And that's cleared up the design to a certain extent, and that now makes it a lot easier to make decisions about the rest of the tree. It's quite an interesting decision to make now. I don't like both of these trunks, so I want to remove one of them. And from this side, the trunk seems to naturally flow off to the left. So I'd say remove that. It's got a bit of a bulge to it as well there. So I'm saying remove that one. However, when I rotate the tree around and look at it from this side, this looks like the better trunk. And I'm thinking remove that one. So I then need to decide what's happening further up, and there's not much happening up on this one, whereas this has got a nice fork there. It's got some quite good taper as it goes up, and therefore I think I keep this one and remove this one. I'm pleased with that because this part of a little tiny bit of inverse taper there, I'm not concerned with. It's very, very minor. And given a couple of years, that'll just disappear. I do like what's happening up here with both of these trunks. So I don't think I have any need, for example, to remove the back trunk there, which I definitely could do. It would have nice taper in. Now I've done that. I'm quite liking that idea. Because it just adds really nice movement as you work your way up the trunk. So I am going to remove that. There. That's created a really nice line, I think. A really nice line. Yeah, lovely. And seeing as I've got that nice line, I'm not sure I need all those lower branches. Love that. Excellent. Now it's just what to do with these lower ones. They're kind of like bar branches in a way. I quite like this. It's thicker than this one, but it's coming from a better place from sort of the outside of that bend. And it's got some better movement to it as well. Therefore, I will remove this. So that's gone. And to avoid any sort of swelling lower down, which I don't want, I'll remove this branch here. And I'm really happy with that. I think that's got some really nice movement, and that's set up for a bright future. These have all had cut paste applied everywhere where I made a major cut, and this is what I've cut off. Probably the best part of 50% of these trees has gone. I'll be trying some hardwood cuttings with these. But apart from that, these trees now, as I said earlier, they're going to go in the ground round at my parents' house, and I'll update you on them in spring 2024 and probably go in and make a few more minor pruning decisions, but might even be spring 2025. That's the nature of bonsai. It's the nature of working with this kind of material. These just need to go in the ground and grow now. There's no way I'll be doing any sort of late summer pruning on them or anything. These just go. I want them to get big, get thick, and yeah, very happy with that. As always, thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.